the majority of toxic people, the majority of, these negative people, the majority of these cancerous human beings that we have in our lives is, just like regular cancer, we tend to not notice it. What's up, guys? This is the Start Today podcast. I'm your host, Chris Cavallini, and thank you for tuning in today. I'm excited about today because this will arguably be one of the most important topics that we cover on this podcast. And the reason I've chosen this topic as early on in the game as I have, as it relates to the podcast just launching, is because I believe without this topic, without implementing this topic and doing what we're going to discuss today, I believe it'll be very, very difficult, if not impossible, to not only reach your full potential, but even half. So all the things that we're going to discuss, all the different topics that we're going to go over throughout the our Start Today podcast journey, they will be a lot more difficult, if not impossible, to successfully execute on, if you do not do this critical thing that we're about to talk about here. And the title, shall we call it, of today's episode is appropriately what most people never figure out. Okay? Because all too often, we see people that are either stuck or, they're not able to stay consistent with, a certain thing or series of things that, they obviously would need to do to improve on their life and its overall quality in some way. Other times, you have people that are in situations and, they're just not able to, pull themselves out of a just overall general state of feeling shitty all the time. Other times, you just have people who are generally unhappy. And what a lot of these people fail to recognize is the underlying cause. I mean, sure, like there could be certain, life events that come up. They could, dislike, this element of their life or that. But what I've found it all really boils down to is the fact that we are without question a byproduct of the human beings that we surround ourselves with, okay? Guys, the people we surround ourselves with will either raise or lower our standards, okay? We've all heard it before, right? Like, cut out like the negative, toxic, shitty people out of your life. We've all heard that. We all know these things. Yet so many of us are still in situations or positions where we expose ourselves to these toxic human beings and these just people that are doing nothing besides influencing the way that we think in a less than favorable way. And whether you want to accept it or not, the fact is our thoughts are susceptible to external influence. Okay. Even if you don't want it to be, even if you're aware of it, all right, it is, it's been proven. I mean, it's been proven time and time again that, the people that we surround ourselves with, the environments, the things that we expose ourselves to, okay, they dictate the way that we think and in turn dictate the way that we act. So we have to be aware of this, guys. We have to be aware and we have to start taking proactive action to make sure that the people that we surround ourselves with are contributing value to our lives in some way, shape, or form, okay? Because at the end of the day, the people in your life are either making it better or making it worse. That's a fact. There's no middle ground, okay? There's a very clear line in the sand, and you're either on one end or you're on the other, all right? So I just want to just help put this in a perspective so you guys kind of understand what we're talking about. And just there's a lot of different, examples of, why and how, the people we surround ourselves with and our external influences, how they affect our thinking, how they affect our decision making, how they affect our behavior, how they just overall affect the way that we feel. I mean, we could look at just from a very like broad macro standpoint. You look at different cultures and different parts of the world where people act and think and operate in a way that's consistent with that particular culture, with their beliefs, with the way that they do things. And, positive or negative, right? I mean, that's in a very general spectrum. But when you break it down and, you look even further on a more micro level, you're going to notice that, like, successful people tend to hang out with other successful people, right? Elite athletes, regardless of what sport they're in, they gravitate and hang with other elite athletes. And it goes the other way too, right? Potheads will hang out with potheads. Junkies will typically hang out with other fucking junkies, okay? We have to be aware of that. We have to be aware of who and what we're surrounding ourselves with and make sure that, we're optimizing our lives to get the most favorable result that we're looking for in life, all right? And the fact is, we are a byproduct of the way that we were raised. We're a byproduct of our environment. We're a byproduct of our parents. We're a byproduct of the things that at this point of our lives that we consciously, unconsciously, willingly, and unknowingly expose ourselves to. All right. So there are certain things and certain ways that, you've been conditioned to think to this point in my life, or to this point to your life, that, you couldn't have changed, right? Like your parents raised you probably the best way that they could. And whether you had a good childhood or a bad childhood, your parents did the best that they could with what they had. So it's important not just to, be aware of the fact that you are a certain way based off of these influences, based off of, the people you surround yourself with, based off the way that you're raised. It's more important to be aware of the fact that at any given time, you can begin to change some of those thought patterns and behavioral traits that have been instilled in you. All right. And if you want to win at the absolute highest level in life, you're going to have to. All right. Because the people in your life, they're either going to be like rocket fuel that inspire you, that just, their mere presence just, makes you feel alive and makes you want to push to do more. And, they're going to support you. They're going to help you. They're going to lift you up when you're down. And, they're going to essentially be a positive catalyst to you accomplishing the goals that you've set for yourself in life. Or they're going to be the complete opposite of that. All right. A lot of times the people in our lives are like quicksand. And we don't even know it, no matter how hard we work. And you might have seen some success. You might have accomplished some things. But if you had removed these shitty, toxic people from your life long ago, you would have gotten where, you are now a hell of a lot quicker. So I think, it's important to point out like things that you need to look for, because I think a lot of times when we see these memes on social media that talk about, like cut out just shitty, negative, toxic people, like the image that sometimes comes to mind is maybe like some, some crackhead living on the street that, was going to run up on an old lady and, rob her at knife point at an ATM or something of that nature to go buy crack. Like, I think that like this evil, just horrible figure, that's what most people associate when they think of, toxic people or negative people. But the fact is, the majority of toxic people, the majority of, these negative people, the majority of these cancerous human beings that we have in our lives is, like regular cancer, we tend to not notice it, right away. It's something that manifests, it's something that grows. It's a disease that essentially just feeds off of, just it's going to infect your entire system and attack your entire system slowly and surely. And it gets to a point where you don't really notice it until maybe, you're fortunate to be in a situation where, you realize that, this person is sucking the life out of you. This person is an energy vampire. And then, you remove yourself from that person, or, you're a lot of times organically people like that. If you're someone, obviously you are someone who's, looking to crush it in life and, work on bettering themselves and accomplishing their goals. I mean, you're listening to this podcast, so that is clearly indicative of that. I'm sure that you've noticed throughout time that, as you've worked to better yourself and you've set goals and worked toward to reach those goals, certain people that, that once, you were close with, certain people that, that in theory should be supporting you, should be proud of you, should be inspired by the actions that, you've taken to improve your life. You would think that those people would be happy for you. They, be in your corner. But a lot of times, I mean, what happens? It's typically like the complete opposite of that. And the reality of it is, like, when that happens and these people fall back and, you quickly realize, like, fuck, now that person's gone. Like, my life is a hell of a lot better. And, had you just been aware of that, a lot sooner, you would be in a hell of a lot better of a position than you're in now. So some things that you need to look for, like, are the people around you, whether it's your friends, whether it's like coworkers that you choose to engage with, when you're at your place of employment, do these people complain? Do they complain about circumstances that they have the ability to fix? Okay. Do they blame other people or other things or other events? They blame the fucking president for the current shitty circumstances that are encompassing their entire life. Okay. Do they talk shit about other people? Okay. That's a big one. All right. Another one, a huge one that I think is arguably the most important. I think you can tell a lot about a person's character by the way they act or react when they see other people accomplishing success. A trademark characteristic of all successful people that I know and all successful people that, I've read about, learned about, or, learned from, is the fact that when they see other people accomplishing success, which is basically just making progress, growing, doing something to improve on a certain area of their life, they genuinely are happy for those people. They're happy, they're cheerful, they're supportive, and it doesn't matter if they know them or not. Okay, because they understand the work, the commitment, the dedication, the sacrifice that goes into that. Okay. Good moral character can clearly be distinguished. And I know right away if somebody is a winner or loser by the way they act or talk about other people that are accomplishing success. So be aware of that, and just understand that, like, the people that we're talking about, unfortunately, the ones that you have to be, like, most concerned with are typically the people you've known the longest, your best friends, your family, your mom and your dad. Like, look, nobody is off limits here. And the fact is, you do not have any sort of moral, legal, or ethical obligation to allow people in your life that are contributing to the reduction of your quality of life. And I think that's a very difficult thing for people to comprehend. It's like, oh, well, I've known him my whole life. And, that's my mom. Look, just, I'll be honest here. Cutting my mother completely out of my life was, definitely in the top 5 best decisions that I've ever made. I don't want to sit here and just bash my mother, but she was a very toxic person, super negative, always complaining. Just, it got to a point as, my level of awareness and consciousness evolved. It got increasingly more difficult for me to be around her. I did not like the way that I felt, and I did not like the person I became when she was in my presence. So I made the tough decision, but the right decision, to cut her out of my life. All right. And, I could give you so many examples with this. And, like, we're talking about the people that are around you and how they can, influence you in a negative way. It legitimately goes the other way as well. The people, if you're surrounding yourself with people who are driven, with people that are hungry, with people that are disciplined, with people that, are taking their fitness seriously, and all these things, these positive qualities, like, you're going to be impacted, and that's going to, rub off and influence you as well. So it goes both ways. And I want to give a couple examples here, personal examples, as it relates to my own life and, namely with my company, Nutrition Solutions. Okay. Right now, if you were to, check out our social media or, like, watch our stories and, look at some of the employees that work here, if you look at their Instagrams, you're going to see a common denominator between my team here. Okay. And that's the fact that 90% of them are in good shape. Okay. They're all clean cut. They take care of themselves. They maintain a neat aesthetic, just clean appearance. And they just take pride in the way they look because they understand that the way they look, ultimately contributes to the way that they feel. Now, that wasn't something, I didn't just I hit the lottery as far as, finding a bunch of people that cared about that stuff. It was something that was cultivated. It was something that, people came in and were a certain way, but because of the way our culture is set up, because of the environment here, because of the vibes, because of the lifestyle that, we live and actively promote, it was just an organic byproduct where people just started just taking a little more pride in the details of their life as far as, making sure they're, training hard, eating good, and just doing the best job they can as far as, keeping a neat aesthetic appearance. And that doesn't happen by accident. Okay. It's a direct result of the environment that we have going on here that is consistent with the lifestyle that we represent. Now, on the other hand, a few years back, I had a very cancerous, very toxic employee. Was actually in a leadership position, and this individual, due to whatever set of circumstances led up to the point, got to a place where he was very, very disgruntled and unhappy with me, with the way that things were going, and just decided that he would essentially bash me to all of his team. And again, this wasn't like a public thing. It wasn't, him saying, he did it in a very like passive aggressive way, but was planting seeds within, the organization to people that I had good relationships, people that I had good rapport with, people that I had actually done a lot of shit for to help them improve on their quality, give them opportunities, coach them up, spend time with them to help develop them. But these people were being influenced by, what was their supervisor at the time. And they were being told that, I didn't really give a shit about them, that I didn't really stand for the things that, I talk about. And our core values were fake. Our mission statement was fake and all this other bullshit. And like these people actually started to believe it. They started to believe it because, they were young, inexperienced, or just simply didn't know better. It's like, why would this person say all these things if they weren't true? And, we got to a point where we had a lot of fucking problems within the company. Obviously we situated that, we cut the cancer out, we got rid of that individual. And, almost immediately, I'm not even exaggerating. It was like, a few weeks or a couple months. No, like legitimately, the first day after he was terminated and let go, you felt a visible shift in positive energy within the company. And it was something that, like, when he was here, like, people weren't just aware of the negative energy. They just kind of adjusted to it. It became the norm. And they didn't realize how, his presence, the things that he was saying, the things that he was doing, how it was influencing them in a negative way. So it can honestly go both ways, which is why you have to be mindful of this stuff. Look, audit your life, audit your circle, audit the people that you have close to you, because the fact is, where you will go in life is going to be largely determined by the people that you allow in your life. Okay. And I'm not just talking about your friends and your coworkers. Be super mindful of that, but also be mindful of the people that you're friends with on social media, right? Be mindful of the content that you're consuming, the things you're just, I have this rule where, on my Facebook page, I accept everybody. I'm maxed out on friends. So if somebody goes to add me, they have to follow me, but I have 5,000 friends on there and I don't know 95% of them, but I accept everybody for branding purposes. So sometimes I have random people's status pop up in my feed. And if I ever see anything that is even slightly negative or like passive aggressive complaining or any of that bullshit, dude, I will immediately like hit the option to whereas I never see their shit again. I don't want to, unfriend them because I don't know if these people are like clients of mine or people who support me. And the fact is, if I unfriend them, they won't see my content, which hopefully will help them, pull their heads out of their ass and learn how to like live their life and realize that, posting negativity and complaining on social media is the ultimate loser move. But I don't want to see that shit. I don't want to be around that shit. And guys, I don't want you to be around it either. So set yourself up for success and literally understand the only way for you to get where you want to be. And if you're stuck and you don't know exactly like, what to do or how to do it or like what the next step is, understand that by like removing toxic, shitty people out of your life will free up so much energy, just an incredible amount of energy to where you can invest that energy towards figuring out the solution to what the next step is, to figuring out that problem, to learning how to overcome the plateau or the hurdle that is currently in your way. Because at the end of the day, guys, you only have so much energy. So the more shitheads, toxic people, and fucking losers, for lack of a better term, that you cut out of your life, the more energy that you're going to free up to invest into your life circumstances and making your life great. All right. So understand that it's going to happen anyway. All right. As you work hard, as you grow, as you move your life forward, it is inevitable that you are going to lose people. All right. That is a byproduct of success. And it's something that should not be frowned upon. It shouldn't be something you'd be upset about. It should be celebrated, because if you're losing people, if people are falling back and, like looking at you different because you're growing and they're not, understand that you are doing exactly what you're supposed to do. And that is perfectly fucking normal. Okay. We don't lose friends. We do not lose friends. Either we will find out who our real friends are through extreme adversity, or as we grow and we expand our level of awareness and consciousness, we come to the realization that certain people shouldn't have been in our lives in the first place. Guys, I appreciate you listening, and I would appreciate more for you guys to take the things that we talked about today on board and start executing, okay? Start looking for people to slowly and surely filter out of your life. And I can guarantee you, if you do that, the circumstances of your life will begin to change in a positive, profound way in a very short period of time. So if I were you, I'd start today.